What's good? You're listening to Daniel and Gian Talk Shit. I'm Gian.
And I'm Daniel.
So, for those of you that don't know and decided to listen to the podcast for the very first time, I am a full-time Uber and Lyft driver. I didn't used to be, actually. It's only been about a month and a half since I started driving full-time. But when you're on the road, you run into some interesting things on occasion. So the way it works is, whenever you're driving in the high income neighborhoods or middle class to high income neighborhoods, people usually get an Uber X, which is the car you ride.
It's the Elite.
It's not the Elite. Elite would be an Uber Black, where you get like a luxury car.
Oh, I thought X was black.
No, Uber X is a regular one. Uber X means you want the car to yourself.
Got it. So there's no Lyft Line or whatever.
No.
Cool. Or Uber Pool.
Uber Pool. So you'll normally get an Uber X, even when it's surging, and that's starting from, if you look at a map of LA, it starts from about Burbank Boulevard and the 405 south up until you get to Inglewood. So from between Inglewood and Sherman Oaks, you'll get Uber X's for the most part. You drive anywhere outside of there, it's like Uber Pool crazy.
Which would be me. That would be me.
Daniel's an Uber pooler.
Because you would save,
a
dollar or two? Tops?
Tops.
Hey, that's not true. I've saved like $3 or $4 before.
When it's surging, you can save a little bit of money. You could definitely save some money. When it's on regular fare, you're saving like $1 or $2. And like realistically, when you do an Uber pool, you take the risk of adding a half an hour to your trip, because
I sense an argument coming on. Because I'm going to defend my cheapness.
No, but you can defend your cheapness all you want.
But I think you have a point, so I think I should not say anything.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I'm going to shut it down. So anyways, what happens is, and it infuriates me, is I'll end up in these neighborhoods somehow, and people will take an Uber pool to go a block down the street. So they went and they saved $1 to go down the block. But sometimes things get messed up, and you pick someone up,
and then you have to pick someone else up
behind them. Like, I went in the direction and I had to turn around 2 miles the other way to pick someone up. So their little 5-minute trip, they try to save $1 on. They're still saving the $1, but they just added an extra 20 minutes to their trip because they selected an Uber.
It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
It's not always that way, but sometimes.
I think if you're going a long distance and you have the time, you take the Uber pool. Like, whatever, that's fine. Because you're going to save $5,
sure, if you're
$10.
coming from the airport.
Yeah.
You just need to get home. It doesn't really matter. You just need to get home.
You're not in a rush, or like, let's say your flight's at 1 and you call at 8 in the morning,
Sure. If you get there in 3 hours, whatever.
Yeah,
as long as
you
you're there,
don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're having a conversation. And I've met people that are just like, you know what, I had time, and I just figured, I like meeting. Sometimes you meet cool people in there. Not often. It's pretty rare. But
not me.
So no.
I haven't met anybody
taking
cool.
those. Well, I mean, how often do you even use the service? You use it like once a year.
I drove 2 weeks ago. What are you talking about?
No, not driving.
Oh, using?
You as a rider, as a passenger.
I don't think I've ever done it. Like, I think the only time I drove Uber was that one time we went out to a bar. That was, how long ago was that? That was years ago. I don't even think you were driving Uber at that point.
That's the last time you used it as a passenger?
When you used the coupon on me.
Oh, okay.
That's literally the last time. And no, that's not true. When I went to New York, we used Uber.
Okay.
Because of airport runs.
Right.
But that's it, though. Out of my own will, I've never used Uber.
Okay. So
or Lyft. Either one of those.
You don't have these experiences.
No.
Anyways, the reason why I bring this up is about a week and a half ago, I pick up these two guys on an Uber pool, of course, from I want to say, it was like not Koreatown. It was like Little Armenia, which is a neighborhood in between.
Is that like Glendale?
No, this isn't Hollywood.
Oh.
It's like
I thought Little Armenia is in like Burbank.
No, Glendale is Armenia.
Oh, okay, got it.
It's not Little Armenia. It is Armenia. There are more and I'm not even joking. There are more Armenians in Glendale than there are in Armenia. Kid you not.
Well, that might be because of other reasons.
Well, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, we're talking to you, Beza.
Ooh, shots fired. Dang.
No. So that's another story. So Little Armenia is just a neighborhood right there. Where, funny enough, there's like the times I've been there, it's nothing but Russians and Mexicans. But Little Armenia, I guess there used to be a lot of Armenians there a long time ago.
Well, they went to Glendale.
They went to Glendale. So anyways, so I pick up these guys from the metro station.
How did they smell?
Oh, they were Mexican guys.
Oh, they were Mexican. I thought they were Armenians.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this was
okay.
it was like Western Hollywood.
Because if they're I picked up some Armenians like when I drove 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
My car smelled great for like 2 days.
Just smelled like Dracar Noir.
It just smelled good.
Just like cologne. Hella heavy ass cologne.
2 days. But anyways, they're Mexicans. Some Mexicans.
But this is starting off great.
Nice and racial.
Yeah.
Nice, just like we like it.
So actually, no. So I pick up this Ethiopian lady. She just got off work. We're headed in the direction, and I get the call, and it's 7 minutes back where she was at, like in that direction.
So Miss Ethiopia
called an Uber pool. She just got off work, calls an Uber pool. This is how it starts off. She's my first Uber pool. I go back and I drive back, and it took like almost 10 minutes to get to these other guys back in the opposite direction, and automatically she's already like,
why are you going this way? Why aren't you dropping me off first?
I can't do an Ethiopian accent. Why are we going this way? We're going back in the same direction we were already at, because we were almost at the freeway when I had to turn back around to get these guys.
Right.
And I was like, listen, lady, I don't have any control of this. Like, this is stupid. This makes no sense. And I'm like, I'm completely with you, lady.
I agree.
I was like, let me tell you something. I don't get paid for these miles in between to go pick up the guys, and my final fare is going to be less than a regular. Like, if you.
So you're not. So even though she's in the car, you're not getting paid for driving her around.
Nope, you do not get paid for those miles where you're picking somebody else up. This is why Uber,
I didn't know that.
This is why Uber pools are a ripoff. So
is that the same way for Lyft?
For Lyft Line's the same exact way. So for all you people that use Lyft Lines and Uber pool, you're ripping off your driver. To save $1, you're costing your driver tons of money. Hey, Daniel doesn't give a shit, because that's the kind of asshole he is.
Well, I don't use it, so I really can't say anything if I don't use the service.
All I'm saying is, if to save $2 or $3, you're costing your driver money and making him work more. This is obviously, like, you can take this one of two ways. Well, not my problem. That's on Uber. They can fix it. That's one way. Or you can not use an Uber pool. Well, that's a proactive way of doing it instead of being apathetic. But that's, the world we're in.
Are you going to pay their $1 or $2 difference, Gian?
I never call Uber pool.
I know, but are you going to, if you decide to champion people to not use it?
I can't afford it, man.
So then,
I can't
who are
afford
you to
it.
tell people?
If I was Mark Cuban, I would do it in a heartbeat. If I was Mark Cuban, I would have started my own rideshare company already. I don't know why he hasn't. Obviously, it's not as profitable as we think.
I don't think it is.
But back to the story. So this lady's pissed off. She's like sitting there, like not cussing, but you could tell she's like.
Did she cancel?
No, she was in the car. We went to pick these guys up, and then we head in that direction. And it was like on the way to Inglewood, and I dropped her off, like off the 110, like Culver City ish.
Right.
And she got out the car, slammed my car door. She got 1 star.
So did you. You probably got 1 star too.
Absolutely, because it was my fault. That's the thing. That's how
quote unquote.
That's how stupid people are. It's my fault that they were cheap, used an Uber pool, and that we went backwards.
See, now I wouldn't get mad at that. Genuinely, wholeheartedly, it would suck. I'd be pissed, but I wouldn't be mad at you.
Right.
Because that's the service you're getting.
Yeah.
So like. That's her 100%. Like,
absolutely.
Uber should look at it and say, okay, what was the situation? What is she mad about? Because if she wrote, he drove in the opposite direction or whatever, and then they could see, okay, we were using a Lyft.
I did get a comment saying that they had an issue with my navigation.
See?
So it might have been her, might not have been her. They don't tell you who it's from, but it would make sense.
And I told you, my one horror story, quote, it's not even a horror story, was about that. Because this guy wanted me to use...
this story's not done yet.
Oh, I thought it was over.
No.
Oh.
So I take these two guys to Inglewood, and I start venting. I was like, because they were like, man, what was her problem? And I explained, and I was like, and I told them the whole thing. I was like...
Were you speaking Spanish to them?
No. They were American.
Oh, okay.
I'm sitting here. There's a couple gay dudes.
I don't know how it's relevant.
I think you had to, just so you know how they were talking. I know they didn't sound. So
they're very social.
They're very social. Once you got out of the car, and they weren't like, "Hey, what's up?" No.
Hey, what's up, dog?
Why was she so mad? They were like, "Oh my god, why was she so mad?" Not even kidding. That's exactly how it sounded. So they're like, "What was going on?" I was like, "Okay, so here's what happened." And I told them, I said, "When you do Uber pool, this is what you kind of." You sign up for, and then on top of that, I wasn't happy about it either, because I wasn't making money picking you guys up. I'm basically driving for free,
and you don't have a choice.
I don't have a choice because they
turn off Uber
pool. You can't say cancel. They automatically add the ride onto you.
Yeah,
and they're like,
I know about.
They're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I don't think we're ever gonna use Uber pool again. Like bullshit. They just said that to make me feel better. But they took me into Inglewood, and that's where the real fun starts. So I picked this lady up.
You're still on the pool at this point?
I'm still on the pool. I right after ding 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 got another one. Went and dropped these guys off, picked this lady up. She came outside. She seemed nice. We're driving, And then boom, get hit another Uber pool. I go up and this girl is sitting on the corner, super hood rat. She was interesting because she looked like she was Asian. She had a little accent that I couldn't pick up because she was talking like a black girl with an accent, and she was either Filipino or she was Mexican, but I didn't know because her accent was like,
she had two different.
She's like, I ain't the one, you know. I ain't the one for you to be talking to me like that. Like she could.
So it was a hybrid. It was
like a hybrid like twang going on.
So she's American then. Perfect. She's the perfect amalgamation of America.
She was probably not born in America. She became but it was like I was like, if I speak Spanish to her, she might respond to me in Spanish. If I speak Tagalog, she might respond to me in Tagalog. But she definitely
she could work at eBay.
She got that urban slang.
She could work at eBay.
She could work at eBay. I didn't know what she was. But anyway, gets in the car, and the first thing, like, I stop, and the people behind me are honking, seeing that I'm picking somebody up, and they're honking because they got someplace to go. It was like 1:30 in the morning. Yeah, and then she's like,
"That's the hood for you."
And then she's like, "Fuck you, bitch! Can't you see I'm getting in the car, fucking hoe?" And then she hops in the car, but with the accent. I wish I recorded her so you can hear what I'm talking about, because she sounded like Lupita from the hood, but not from the Mexican.
But
hood.
she was Asian.
Yeah, but she might have been Asian.
Oh,
I don't know.
She was brown.
She was definitely brown. She's just, her eyes were,
I don't know how this podcast is going.
Anyways, so she gets in the car and she's on her phone the whole time. Got it on speaker, and she's sitting here like yelling at her man. And then she's like, I paid for you to come down here twice and you just took my money both times. I ain't that one for you to be playing like that. And then dude's like, bitch, what you gonna do about it? And she's like, what? Boom, hangs up on him. Then he calls back, and then she takes it off speaker, and you could tell dude's like apologizing and shit. So I guess she paid for him to take the train out here. Like, why are you dating dudes that live in Riverside or anywhere, wherever he's at? And then she's like, hangs up, and then on the way she's like, hey, if you see a taco place, can you just drop me off there? And I'm like,
just drop you off at it.
Just drop me out. I'm like, okay. And then the girl in the back who hadn't said shit this whole time.
Oh, I forgot you had a passenger with you.
Yeah. She's like, ooh, that sounds like a good idea. So I'm thinking, okay, I guess I'm dropping these girls off. I found a taco truck, pulled over. The girl gets out, hops out, gets back on her phone, whatever. The other girl hops out and leaves all of her shit in my car.
Oh, so now you're a chauffeur.
So now I'm waiting on an Uber pool, which isn't how it works. When you do an Uber pool, you basically sign a contract saying that you're going to get dropped off at this place no matter what happens along the way. I can't stop for you. I can't make additional stops. I can't wait for you. She knew what she was doing, though, because she left all her shit in the back seat. So she goes, gets out to the truck, and then I'm thinking, oh, my God, what am I going to do here? I should have done it, but I'm just not.
Should have canceled it.
Not the canceling part. I wouldn't have got paid.
Oh.
What do? Do you go out of your car, take out all her stuff, and leave it on the sidewalk, and then bolt, or do you wait? And I ended up being a bitch and waiting.
Well, you can't leave her stuff on the sidewalk.
Well,
because
if your name is Andrew Galvan, he would have left her shit on the sidewalk. But he's,
Well, see, you lost your chance as she was leaving.
I didn't notice because I was about to pull off, and then when I turned around, I saw all her stuff.
I'm just saying, like that was the moment of like, hey, you can't leave. If you leave, you're gonna have to leave your stuff because I gotta keep going.
Right.
But at that point, you gotta kind of get boxed in.
Yeah.
So what'd she get?
She got a burrito. Luckily, it only took about 5 minutes. This was like the fastest burrito I've ever seen in my life. So they didn't reheat the meat. So I hope she got food poisoning. Gets back in the car. And then she's like, oh, can I eat this back here? And I'm like, well, no. I was like, did you not notice this is a brand new car? No, you can't eat back here. And she's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And then she gets to her stop, hops out, 1 star, and I turn that shit off right away. And now I know this is why I never drive in Inglewood.
Well, see, what I don't understand is, and then maybe just because I thought Lyft Line was once you start driving, you can't pick up more people until you drop the last person off.
No.
Because that's how it's been with me.
You pick up people along the way.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah,
Lyft Line is where they share the car, so you can share the car with a stranger.
So do you think I've been screwing myself? Here's what I mean. Because when I accept a ride, whether it's Lyft Line or whatever, and it'll tell you oh, this is Lyft Line, I immediately go into the Waze app.
No, you're supposed to.
But how do I know if I'm going to pick someone up if I'm not in the Lyft app?
It'll tell you. You'll get do the it'll give you the little sound.
Oh, it doesn't do that.
No,
I've been in a situation
Well,
where I've dropped someone off and I've went back to like go to confirm the drop off, and there's another passenger right there. Like,
that means they automatically added it to you.
right. So, but it only came up when I went back to the app.
That's just happenstance.
Oh, so that's just
Yeah,
the way
because
it
it
worked out for me?
automatically does it, and it automatically changes your ways for you.
Oh, it doesn't do that, or it
Yeah.
hasn't done that.
Yeah.
So I must have not experienced it.
No. Yeah, whenever I do Lyft Line, it automatically, like Uber Pool doesn't. You have to do it in the app. You have to change the ways. Lyft changes it like that. Lyft right now, which kind of pisses me off, is they add rides like Lyft Line or regular Lyft. They add rides to your ride before you're even done. They don't even give
That's
you the
what
option
I'm saying.
of accepting.
I had to pee for like 3 hours,
Yeah.
and because I was stuck on and I'm like, well,
So to get around that, you have to turn it off
during
app.
the drive,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense to
Right.
me.
Because you don't know, like, if you have to pee right away, but or you cancel the other ride, you know.
Which
doesn't
but it was
look
like,
good,
but
yeah.
it was like, yeah, you got to maintain that acceptance, because that's what was happening.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, after this, I'm gonna do one more. I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, nope, you're not going to do shit because
Yeah.
it's going to keep on stacking.
Uber at the very least gives you that option of accepting or
Yeah, that's
declining.
it was a pain in the
Uber
ass.
actually now has a decline button they didn't have before, so you can say like if it's too far away.
Well, that's the thing about Lyft. You don't even know where you're going.
No, you don't.
Until you accept it.
You don't.
And then like my last ride, the last time I drove, the guy wanted to drive, I don't even know how many miles, West Hollywood. Where did I say it was? Thousand Oaks, something around there. I don't even know how many miles that is.
That's at least 30 miles.
Yeah, in addition to the 30 that I'd have to drive to come back home. So
Yeah.
that's a 60-mile drive. I don't even know what the fare would, what, $40, $50?
30 miles would have been like a 25.
So yeah, for what? So I can drive 60 miles home, 2 hours to get home?
Well, I mean, or you stick out there in Thousand Oaks and try to get a ride back. I mean,
and then you get pushed farther.
No, I mean,
because I still don't use that go home feature where you can set a path to take you home or something. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's still a service where you don't have a job. I mean, you don't have a job, you don't have a boss. So, you know, if those are the downsides you have to contend with, it kind of is what it is to a certain extent. Just because, I mean, you can turn the meter off at any time you want. You could literally cancel any of these rides if you really wanted to. You're not going to get as many, but you know, you're not required to take them. So, I mean, there's kinks. How long has Uber been out anyway? 3 or 4 years? 5 years?
I'm gonna say
look it up.
closer to 5 years. But, anyways, I just wanted to share that story and just part of the everyday struggle. And if you're in urban areas,
What you're saying is don't use Pool.
yeah, basically the moral of the story is
Don't use Pool. Don't be cheap.
don't use Pool, don't be cheap. You're only saving $1 or $2, you know.
So, formerly called Uber Cab, that was 2009 to 2011. So, founded March 2009, 8 years ago.
Wow.
I did not know that.
But that was might have been the beta where it was only in the Bay Area.
Right.
Yeah.
Revenue is $6.5 billion. Net income is down to negative $2.8 billion. That was 2016.
I mean, that's not my job to figure out why it's down. I don't know. I mean,
I'm looking at Lyft right now.
I'm like
too.
my economist. You know, I mean, I'm not an economist, so.
Lyft started in 2012. Its revenue is $700 million, and its net income is negative $600 million. This is again 2016. So why the hell are these companies open? I don't get it.
Well, I feel like. I mean, you're always going to take a loss the first few years, but why Uber? Something's up with Uber. I mean, there's been people that have been talking about it, and they think that they went too low with the prices, and that's why they're losing money, because it used to be when Uber first came out, it was $2.50 a mile and 59 cents a
I think
minute.
it's like $4 in New York.
Well, now, here in LA anyways, it's 90 cents a mile and 15 cents a minute. That's what the passenger pays.
Which is good for the passenger, but not good for basically anybody else, right?
I mean, you know what? On a solid day, you can average about $20 to $30 an hour. So I think that's like the cap that you're going to be at.
Yeah, but that's not what Uber's getting though.
No, Uber gets 25% of that fare.
Yeah, which is not really that
Well,
much.
where does their overhead though? That's the thing. Is like, are you employing that many people? You know, the overhead doesn't make any sense. It's like you just need.
I don't know.
You need techs to run your GPS. You know,
And the app and customer support, but I'm sure those are
customer support's
third
outsourced.
sp-
I
yeah.
know for a fact because I've used customer support a few times now, and it's outsourced. It's
I mean, I don't know, but that's a lot of loss. I don't know. At the end of the day, I guess it's kind of.
I mean, obviously they haven't shut it down, so
And you're not going to unionize anytime soon.
no.
So it's not going to be able to get to the taxi industry that quickly.
I'd have to look more articles into why it's not being profitable right now. You know,
I mean,
but I mean, the rumor has it they're going to raise the fare because it's
which would be good for you as
be
a
good
driver.
for me. It'll still be good for passengers because it's still way cheaper than taking a cab. You know, and it's a better experience than taking a cab. That's the one thing. Like the biggest complaint I get in the cars is, you know,
The smell.
like the cabs are old, they smell, and the drivers are assholes, and the drivers always like take the longest route. Like the cab.
Yeah,
drivers.
you can't tell them to.
No, you can't tell them to go a certain way. They're going the way they want to go.
Which is designed for you to get more,
Right.
to pay more.
Like even when it's peaking at surging at LAX, the Uber's still cheaper than taking.
Oh, that's 100%
Yeah.
fact. That's not even disputable.
You know, so
I can prove that at JFK when I went. I told you that there was people out there saying, "Oh, I'm an Uber driver." They would have an Uber sign, which makes no sense if you're familiar with how Uber works.
right.
And then you would like go up to them and they'd be like, "All right, well, you need to go to the city, $50 cash." That's
Round
it.
trip or
That's
just the
it.
one way.
Just the $50. But when you look at everything, cabs are charging $80, $100 to get from JFK to downtown.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, it actually seems reasonable. But then you actually go on the actual Uber app and it's like $35-$40 for
Right.
a pool, and you're going to do that. But you can see how they would get some hustle.
Yeah, definitely.
All they have to do is hold up the sign, and then
Definitely.
they're just parked right across the street.
I mean, that might be part of the reason why it's not profitable is because there's people hustling.
as Uber drivers.
Yeah. Or doing stuff like that, you know, like I'll turn this off right now if you give me, you know, this much amount of money in cash, you know, and
I thought about saying that to that one time I was driving. I had to pee so bad I almost told the guy, like, "Look, I'll cancel your fare and I'll fucking take you the rest of the way." And I was like, "No, I'll just suck it up." I had to pee so bad. It was the worst.
you got to get one of those pilot things.
The pilot, like what a
Like
catheter or whatever.
No, like a jet fighter pilot has.
Oh, ejection seat.
No, I think it's like Patrick knows what it is. It's like a tube you connect to your shit, and then you have like a little collector on your ankle or something.
Yeah, isn't that what a catheter is?
No, a catheter is they put a tube inside your pee hole and stretch your pee hole out. Like it goes straight into your bladder. You don't want a catheter.
Okay,
Yeah. That's why when people have a catheter in the hospital, they don't even know when they're going to the bathroom or not.
got it. Because it just happens.
Yeah.
Got it,
Because they
okay.
shove a tube down your urethra.
no thanks,
Yeah.
then. No, I thought about that, like for cars, just in general, like a toilet system for a car. Because I mean, there's certain instances where it makes sense.
Right.
Long distance trips, you're like, fuck, man, I don't want to pull over and pee on the side of the
Right.
road or whatever. You'd rather just keep driving.
It's definitely ideal for those long trips.
Yeah, we definitely got on the wrong foot
Yeah.
on this.
I mean, I wanted to start this podcast off with like a little bit of levity, you know, because we're recording this today on 9/11, the 16th anniversary of the World Trade Center.
Can't believe it's been 16 years.
Yeah, man, 16 years. So it's been 16 years since the World Trade Center bombings, which ever since then, a lot of things have changed in the U.S. A lot of things have changed in the U.S. And,
A lot.
I don't know. I just kind of wanted to talk about that briefly, about where you were at when that happened and like what was going through your mind, you know, and just remembering the people out there who lost their lives in the attack. And
Well, for me personally, I mean, I was, 9/11. I was 9. I was 9 when 9/11 happened. And then I still to this day believe what I went through. Every morning when I think until I was like 13, my dad would take me to my grandma's house because he'd have to go to work. My parents worked, and then I had to get to school. I didn't go to school in the town that I lived in. I went,
Right.
So I got dropped off at my grandma's house, and then my grandma would take me to school when it was time to go to school. And at 6 in the morning or so, the attacks were already going on in New York because obviously it's 3 hours ahead.
well, the first tower.
Right.
Yeah.
So I remember in my head dreaming about, not that, it could have just been I heard about it because I was half asleep, and then when I woke up, like but I remember visualizing not that particular thing, but something similar to that.
Right.
I remember doing that, and then my grandma said the same thing, but it could have been the same situation. But I didn't understand, because at the time when I was awake, no one knew what was going on.
Yeah.
It was just one plane. It could have been accidental, whatever. It's hard to say it's an accident if you're going to fly a passenger plane.
Yeah.
But they still didn't know. They were talking about, well, this other plane, this like small engine plane crashed into a building once, blah, blah, blah. And then I was in school when this other plane hit, because I wasn't home at that point. And then after that, that's when it kind of shifted and things kind of got serious. I think we went home early. And then I still didn't comprehend the levity of how big it just didn't make any sense to me. Like, I just cared about playing whatever video games were out at the time.
Right.
Because it just didn't. It wasn't until Fahrenheit 9/11 came out, because that was the movie that first made me like start to say, oh wait, this country's not all peaches.
Right.
I haven't seen that movie since then, so I don't even know like if it's a good movie. I don't remember any of it. I just remember it being an anti-George Bush movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying my family was a pro-George Bush family or anything like that, but I just don't remember the divide being as big as it was now.
Right.
Like, I just thought, oh, it's the Republicans'
Well, I mean, did your
turn.
family even really talk about politics?
Not really.
Yeah.
I know they voted for Gore, but
right.
I had friends who their families were George Bush supporters, but it wasn't a thing where it was like, oh, you're retarded, you like Trump, like you're one of those people. It was just like, that's just where the political allegiances lie. That was it. And then, like I said, when Fahrenheit 9/11 came out, then it was like, oh, there's actually something going on here. And then I went to the 9/11 memorial last year or 2 years ago, whenever that was, and that was a big ass thing. But just in terms of being a kid, it was a big deal, but it didn't impact me.
Right.
As if it were to happen today, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So like the fact that it did happen and I was alive, it's just like Pearl Harbor, You look at Pearl Harbor now and you could say, yeah, it was a big thing, but it's nothing like people who lived in 1941.
Absolutely.
My grandma would say, oh no, it was a big deal because it was out of the blue. It was not something any of us were expecting.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's kind of like that. I lived through it, but I was too young to appreciate it. And you?
So I remember I was sleeping and I forget what time it was, but I was working at Orchard Supply, but I was asleep. I probably had a late night the night before doing something dumb.
I'm just going to see what time the attacks happened.
And my mom was getting ready for work, and she came in and woke me up, and she was crying. And then I was like, what's happening? And she's like, they attacked the towers. I'm like, or one of the towers fell down. And I'm like, who, what? I was like half asleep, but I turned on the TV, and sure enough, it's right on there. And like minutes later, the second plane.
8:46 a.m. So that would have been 5:46 here.
Yeah, so it was like around 7 a.m. So maybe it was when the second, because I feel like the first plane hitting the tower wasn't reported as much. It was like an accident, but then when the second one hit, they were like, this was on purpose.
Yep, that was at 9:03, so it was 15 minutes later. So I guess I did, both towers were hit when I was awake.
Okay.
See, it just goes to show you how fucked up our memories are.
Yeah. So I know I was asleep. My mom woke me up to tell me, and then I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
I forgot about the Pentagon.
Yeah,
9:37, the
plane
Pentagon.
crashed into the Pentagon, right? And then and then another one was on its way.
That one I know about, yeah.
That was the last one.
That was at 10.
Where the people stopped it.
Supposedly fought back.
Yeah. Well, let's not get into conspiracy.
No. It's not a conspiracy thing. It's just they haven't released all of the tapes, so you don't really know what happened on there.
Right.
You know what the movie is. You know all that stuff. This is not me. Flight 93 or United 93, that movie, like that's one of the few movies that still makes. It's a great fucking movie, and if it's true, it's true. But I'm just saying, like, they haven't released that stuff. Even at the 9/11 memorial, they like give you small little but they have the full tapes.
Right.
It's just whether it's, I'm not saying they haven't released them because they're going to reveal the truth that nothing really happened. It's just more of a respect thing for the families, right? So I'm just saying, like, we don't really know what happened,
right? Because
we haven't heard it ourselves. That's all I'm saying. Not taking away anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would have been, I'm trying to see when the building went down though. It's just still total collapse 10 o'clock a.m. So 7 a.m. so I was in school at that point.
Yeah.
Which is why I didn't hear about anything.
I'm trying to think. I went into work that day, and there was nobody at work. Like, nobody showed up to the store. I was just dead, and like I was kind of like, I didn't think it did when it first happened. It didn't really like hit me. It just didn't feel like that big a deal. I was like, oh, this sucks. This is crazy. And then, if you really think about it, the initial impacts aren't what caused all the chaos. It was everything that happened afterwards. You know, the buildings collapsing, because they didn't collapse immediately. You know, it took a
10
while.
10 o'clock. That was the first one.
Yeah, it took them a while. It was burning
Which
inside.
is 2.5 hours.
Then all of New York City shutting down. You know, and then you started seeing like people trying to cross the bridges by foot because they couldn't drive their cars over it.
It's all the footage. It's all the footage. It's the aftermath footage. It's the images of people jumping out of the building.
Yeah.
And like that shit. That's, I mean, because that's the impactful stuff at the 9/11 memorial. It's like, that's pretty like.
Well, the phone calls are what got me when I went. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Yeah. It was 2015 I went, so 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And hearing the phone calls that people made, like those, that's what hit me more than anything.
'Cause that's personal. That's the human shit.
Yeah, and all the pictures they had up there, it was just like, you know, of all the firefighters that died, you know.
Let me put it this way. America was, unless you were Sikh or Muslim after 9/11, that was the most united we've been in a while.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that they got targeted after. But other than that, I mean, we were all, it takes a tragedy for like the country to come together. I mean, I feel like that's most countries. But it's just like, I don't know. At the end of the day, what was really accomplished? I mean, this isn't me getting political, but Bin Laden and crew, whatever, they changed the face of the world with that.
Yeah.
So if that's a victory, I don't know. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the world has not been the same since then.
No.
In 1,001,000 different ways.
Well, it's also like started a chain of other attacks and stuff, you know.
And I'm not even talking about just attacks, but just about politics and living our lives and like security and personal like space and freedoms and things like that. Like, it changed a lot. But I think that's kind of like the at the end of the day, the country's still standing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're still in the Middle East doing whatever we need to do, whatever that might be. So nothing's really changed on the macro level.
Well, let me ask you something. How do you think you'd feel about this? Were you an East Coaster? Were you like living in New York at the time or New Jersey? Like, do you think your perspective on it would be different if
it's too far for me to? It's close enough where it's like, oh, we're an American, but it's too far for me really to give a shit. Genuinely,
right?
And that sounds terrible. But if they had freaking crashed into the buildings in LA and I could walk outside my house and see them smoking and then to watch them collapse either live or on TV, that's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
Because the people who lived in New York and they had to go through that, they could walk outside, they could see the smoke, they could do, to me, you can't even like really say that like, yo, you don't understand what, like they are on their own little platform. I'll always be an outsider to that is what I'm saying.
Right.
I'll never understand. I never can say, I can listen to all the tapes, watch all the pictures, whatever. I'll still never understand what it was like to actually live there and be there. It's a completely different disconnect. It's just like Harvey and Irma and all these other things. Like, you're going to feel bad, but at the end of the day, I don't have tornadoes and shit happening here in California. So I don't understand. I can't comprehend it.
Hurricanes.
What did I say? Tornadoes?
Yeah.
My bad. Hurricanes. But the earthquake thing in Mexico, that's another thing. But that's something that, to me, when I saw the earth, I'm like, oh, man. Because that's close to California. We could have that earthquake.
You know what's funny, though? When it comes to earthquakes, I feel like everything here is so retrofitted and, like, built to...
If you're lucky enough. You might live in a place that's not. I don't know if my where I live now has been retrofitted. I'm assuming since it was built in the last 20 years.
Right.
But I don't know.
I feel like it probably is. I mean, maybe
it survived the Northridge quake. I know that.
Maybe not in LA, but I know in the Bay Area, especially San Francisco proper, like you have to like redo everything in those buildings. So those buildings,
because they already went through a fucking terrible. They're not going to let that happen again.
I was there for that one. I was a little kid when that happened. I remember this fat girl named Michelle was jumping rope. I kid you not, she was jumping rope out front.
Is that the Bay Area? Is that the one with the World Series one?
Yep, the Loma Prieta earthquake, 8.9. Yep. Michelle was jumping rope, and Yep. It started. The ground started a rocking.
Her body started shaking, but it wasn't because she was jumping rope.
Exactly. But it's fucked up, man. We were little kids. We made fun of her for like a good 2 weeks for that. Said she caused.
Oh, I get it now. She was jumping rope. Oh, I get it. And you were little kids.
Yeah.
Dang, that's totally something I would. I don't know if I would have said it to her face, but
Oh, dude, I think I was like 8. You're
that's
8?
no,
Yeah,
I understand.
You totally would have said that.
Well, apparently I was alive during the Northridge quake, and my parents told me I was a baby and I was sleeping, and then
And it didn't wake you up.
no, they got out of the bed and went in the doorway and they just left me in the bed. But I'm alive, so. But I don't know. I mean, I experienced. There was an earthquake when we were at SC, and it was like a 4 or something. But it's still the most intense. Like that one earthquake scared me for like a week.
Right.
Because I was like, "Fuck, this is that." And because it was bad because it lasted like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what was bad about it. It wasn't the shake. It was like, oh wait, this isn't stopping.
I mean, all those super big earthquakes, the earthquake itself isn't what causes the damage. It's like
It's the sustained.
yeah, it's the stuff that happens afterward because they only last about 10 seconds, 15 seconds. But then when they're done, like whatever structural damage they did, eventually like the building might fall over or, could cause a fire.
There was some lightning and shit on the Mexican one. Normally when I hear of like, oh, we saw flashing lights in the sky and UFOs, like I immediately dismiss it as some bullshit,
Right.
stupid, whatever, right? Like, but there's a video going around, and I sound like one of those UFO guys, but apparently there's a thing called earthquake lights, to where they still don't. It's a natural phenomenon. We haven't discovered it. They haven't figured out a reason why, but there's like theories. But the problem is people say they've seen them for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where they don't have record of it. So it's like,
Right.
it's a bunch of hearsay. Well, some Mexican dude is just recording it, and you can literally, it just looks like explosions in the sky, like all across. And some people were saying, I'm serious. Some people were saying, oh, it's just like electricity transformers that are blowing up, but it's in the sky. It's in the clouds. And it looked really weird. And then some people were actually saying it has to do with like the way the Earth's composition will change after an earthquake, and it could trigger these electromagnetic storms.
Man, this is way above my pay grade.
If I showed you the video, it would make more sense.
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying like that would trip me out just because I always think about like, what if I was in an airplane or an earthquake? What would happen if you're in the air when an earthquake happens? And then you find out that there's electric storms.
Yeah, because you would think nothing,
Yeah.
and then apparently something happens.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it just goes to show you how
there's people
little
out
we
there
know.
who say there's earthquake weather too, like, oh, we're gonna have an earthquake when it's like,
and maybe this is what it's coming from.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'm not gonna go that far and say there's earthquake weather, because I believe you can't predict earthquakes. That's what's so scary about them. But
well,
I
they
don't
say
know, man.
the animals, like the dogs in the neighborhood,
Sure, but that's a
barking.
few seconds warning.
Right.
But even then, what are you gonna do? Nothing.
Hey man, that's enough warning for me to get under the doorway.
But how do you know though?
Not this table. This table's made of glass. I think you're done.
You're supposed to get a textbook and put it over your. Well, I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but that's what Erin told me.
Get a textbook.
When she was living in Iraq, or no, she was living in Saudi during the Iraq War, or when Saddam started bombing her part of Saudi.
Yeah.
They told her that you just get one of your heaviest textbook, and you just put it on the back of your spine, and you just basically hope for the best.
Hope that the house doesn't collapse on you.
Well, and this was in school.
Right.
So like, because you're really, what falls on you is if you fall here, that's when you're really fucked.
Yeah.
If it falls on your leg, you might be fucked still, but you're not going to die.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. But anyway, so we're, I guess that's enough 9/11 talk. I mean, it sucks. It's still fresh. It's still weird to me where it's been, where you can say it's been 16 years.
Yeah.
That's still a weird sentence to me.
It doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Not even remotely.
Because that's a tribute to, I don't want to say tribute, but that's a testament to how things are in the country right now, because
we didn't let it get us down.
No, well, I don't even mean that. I mean, I feel like that was the beginning of all the political unrest that we have, and all the polarization of the two political parties started right then. I mean, I guess you could argue that it started when Bush was elected, but that was the first year of his term.
All the divisions started from there.
Yeah, because he went.
Well, that's why I was trying to say.
War.
That's why I was saying, like, I don't want to contribute as a victory for Bin Laden and company, but it's definitely changed the face of.
Right. If that was the ultimate goal,
was to disrupt us.
It's getting there. It's there already. You know.
It is there. We can't even have podcasts without arguments about people being on one side or whatever.
Right.
I mean, we can't even talk about other things. I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that. I had a point, but
I don't either. But what else were we going to talk about today? Let's see.
We had a few things.
Do we stick to politics? Do we?
I mean, we could talk about the political climate, and we could relate it to YouTube because PewDiePie got into a little bit of trouble this weekend, streaming, and he dropped. I won't for this one instance. I won't repeat the word, but that's just because I'm going to play the tape. I'm going to play the audio.
Okay.
So hold on. You can keep explaining if you want while I bring this up.
So for those of you who don't know, PewDiePie is like probably the biggest YouTuber on the planet. He does gaming videos, right? And he does other stupid little videos. And he got in trouble a few months back because
he was doing some.
He went on Fiverr. Is it called Fiverr, right?
Fiverr, yeah.
He went on the website called Fiverr where you can give people $5 and try to get them to do stuff. And he got these guys in another country to do like the Zig Heil hand, and one of the guys was holding up a sign that said "Kill all Jews" or something like that.
I think they were Indian.
They're from India.
I think so.
Well, basically, he got
because they were like they was like for no, it was. But anyway,
he made a video of these guys doing anti-Semitic stuff, and he had a show they were going to make for him on YouTube Red that got canceled. He lost a lot of his sponsorships.
Disney.
It
was a Disney show. Disney backed.
But I mean, he's still killing it on YouTube. He's still making money. And then last night or 2 nights ago, how long ago was this?
I'm not sure because this video was posted on September 10th on YouTube, so it had to have been
recent,
very recent, the 10th or the 9th at the most. I'm just gonna play it. Hold on.
What the fuck's happening?
What the hell was that? The potato was fucking insane.
I don't know if you can hear it.
So fucking straight.
I can hear it.
So right now he's playing a video game. He's shooting at some guy.
What a fucking nigger. Jeez, oh my god, what the fuck? Sorry, but what the fuck? What a fucking asshole. I don't mean that in a bad way. Jesus.
Now what you're not seeing, and I'll put this on the video, is
Why
for the.
would he do that?
It's over now. I'm gonna stop it. So what you don't see is you see his face. Like the moment he says the word, he knew that he just fucking fucked up.
Yeah.
He's gonna be untouched by this, in my opinion. It's not really gonna affect him that much, but because he immediately was like, "Oh, I'm sorry" or whatever. You can see it on his face.
It's still gonna polarize people.
Oh, for sure. It's just gonna make the people who don't like him not like him even more. But at least.
But it's gonna bring some people out of the woodworks that he may not want to be aligned with.
Sure, and especially
where's he from? Is he English or is he from Sweden?
He's from Sweden.
Is he Swedish?
I'm pretty sure he's from Sweden. He's definitely not American. I'm gonna double check it right now. But to be honest with you, what he did is very, very, very common on the internet. Not just internet, but in terms of online gaming. He's Swedish, yeah.
Well, okay.
I'm not defending that. I'm just saying,
that doesn't make it right.
No, I'm not defending it. But I'm just saying, anybody who goes on, if you go on Xbox Live, you go on the PC, you go on PlayStation Network or whatever, you're going to be called, at some point, you're going to be called gay, a faggot, a nigger, whatever, any racial slur you want to throw in there.
Right.
I'm not saying that it's right or whatever.
If you're playing with 9-year-old kids in the East Coast, they like to call you douchebag.
That's another
their favorite. You have these little 9-year-old kids. You fucking douchebag. You fucking douchebag. I fucking hate you.
Exactly. I'll fuck your mother. Whatever. Like they'll say shit like that. Now I'm only bringing this up because I want to pose a question. Now, when you hear people use the slurs like that, right? You would automatically assume something's not right about. I'm not saying PewDiePie, but about anybody, because if you're gonna call someone that over a video game, there might be some underlying things, or it could just be a part of the gaming culture where you just. So my question is, do you feel like he's a racist and he slipped up right here, or do you think this is something he might have done with his offline buddies?
Okay, if you want to lump him into the same category as your average gamer, I think the internet being able to hide behind an avatar gives people makes people bold.
Right.
And
I agree.
And sometimes these people just say whatever they want to because they know
they want to be hurtful. They want to
there's no repercussions, and they're trying to
Right.
shock value more than anything, and they're just trying to get it to a level where
where they win.
Yeah, because they hurt your feelings or
Right.
something. So I don't necessarily think they believe that stuff. However, with this guy, it's kind of like, where there's smoke, there's fire. He's already did one pretty bad thing, and now, I mean,
I don't think it was that bad. But
well,
no, not this thing. I'm talking about the starting a fire just to get controversy.
I mean, I don't even know the whole story of why he did that Fiverr video in the first place. Like, what the point of that
Right.
was, what he was trying to accomplish with that were the signs his idea. Like
I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
I mean, and I honestly, I don't watch this guy's videos.
That's the other thing, too.
Like, I really don't care in that regard. But I mean, dude's making a ton of money. And here's the thing, and I want to bring up this point. He's from Sweden.
Are you saying he's a communist?
No, he's from Sweden. Not a lot of black people in Sweden. He didn't grow up with a lot of black people. So the term nigger is not a commonly used term in his country. But he said it.
Or it could be.
It could be,
and it could just be for derogatory. We don't know. I don't know what it's like living in Sweden.
But I think that he used it so freely. I don't know. I just feel it's kind of weird. Like, I could, if he was American and he said it,
I think it would have been worse.
It may have been worse. Yeah, depends. I mean, if the guy was from the South or something.
So you don't think so? So when you hear him say that, you don't see like someone hiding behind an avatar, like I was saying. Because I played with people. I'm not saying that I am this person or whatever, but I've been online, and I don't necessarily think that
he might be hiding behind an avatar. At that moment, he didn't think about it, but at some point, you got to be conscious
of who you are,
and that's like inexcusable. Like, you already have the biggest YouTube channel, not the biggest YouTube channel, not just the biggest gaming YouTube channel. You have the biggest YouTube channel. So everybody knows you. You've already been, at this point, you should be careful at all times. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And I feel like that.
I guess my point was this, and this is why, just to further clarify a little bit, again, just to further the discussion, he wasn't using the word towards anyone specific in this particular instance. I know it sounds like I'm defending him, but I'm not. It's just to have an actual conversation. Because we've had it before with Jay-Z videos, where I've been very adamant about, or the hashtag nigger navy, that's a part of what it is. I'm not advocating for it. If I'm going to comment on Jay-Z's lyrics or something, yeah, you're going to have to use the words to comment on them. Otherwise, what's the point? It shouldn't be limited to a certain race or whatever.
Right. But I think this is different.
Right. Which is why but because he wasn't directing it at anyone specific, and he was just using the word nonchalantly to describe someone who he couldn't kill. Basically, that's what it was. He's playing a shooter. He couldn't kill the guy, or he did kill him, and that's what he said. He wasn't basically promoting, like, we're going to get them all, and we're going to do all this stuff to them. Or is there no difference to you? That's my question. That's what I'm leading to.
The thing with that word is it has a very specific definition.
Right.
And when you use it, it doesn't matter how you're using it. Like, it's never for a good reason. It's not like, we say, like, I'm going to throw this out there, for example, gay. That's gay.
Right.
Most people, there's a different definition to it when they say it. They're not,
Well, gay actually was happy.
I'm not even talking about that, but I'm saying when somebody says that's gay, they're not really saying they're not using it homophobically.
Right.
I think there's only one way to interpret the N-bomb.
Well, what about faggot?
Faggot, that's definitely
Well, I mean, all faggot is an extreme word of gay, right? If you're gonna use it in the context of like, well, that's gay, as in stupid, right?
Right.
If you say stop being a faggot instead of stop being a pussy, or stop being, because even pussy in this day
if
and
you
age
break
would be
it all
bad.
these words down, there's a negative connotation that's either anti-female or homophobic. I think niggers. There's heavy words out there. There's conversation enders.
I think I think this podcast is gonna get flagged.
Yeah, we're gonna get flagged. But the N word, that word is,
regardless of context.
It's you, especially if you're white, and especially if you've already been accused of doing,
negative stuff
of racial.
Oh, I'm not again. Yeah. I'm not defending him. I think that he. I'm not going to sit here and say he should apologize.
I don't know the guy. He might be whatever. He might be a cool dude. He might not be racist at all.
Right.
But when you're that big, you're making that much money.
That's the most important thing.
You need to be aware.
That's the most important thing.
Exactly. And he fucked up, and I don't even know how he's going to get punished for this. But like I told you before, I've already read people talking about First Amendment shit. And it's like he doesn't even live in the States, does he? He still lives in Sweden. So the First Amendment doesn't apply to him whatsoever.
Nope.
And the First Amendment has nothing to do with public persona. It has nothing to do with, it just means the government can't get you. I can't believe I have to keep saying that because people keep repeating the same bullshit about the First Amendment. So I think it potentially could just force another. I mean, the alt-right's going to jump all over this. And I feel like maybe not. Maybe it doesn't get blown up, but I feel like
maybe because he's not American, they don't care. I don't know.
Maybe they don't care, or maybe they use it as another platform
he's a white
to
guy.
defend him. You know what I mean? Like, this is just a white man getting taken down again. I don't know. I feel like it's not, because there's people out there, like, not saying you, but making the same statements you did, like excusing it, like, oh, it's not that big a deal, it's just a word, whatever. But it's like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. You do it once, shame on you. Fool me twice. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you when it comes to racial stuff, I think you get one chance, you get a pass, or you don't. I mean, look at Michael Richards. When was the last time you saw him on anything now? Is he even still doing comedy?
I think so, but see, to me, that's an example of something's wrong with him internally.
No, absolutely. That was extreme.
That was like, if
not the same situation. Obviously not the same situation.
Well, that's kind of what my point is, though. You hear Richard say, like, if this were 100 years ago, you'd be hanging from a tree. That's clearly racial based.
Right.
Now, the word is based in racial because everything, it's a term basically invented by white people, right?
Right.
To put down the black people. Then no arguing that, okay? But does context matter? And I think that's what we've established that it doesn't.
If we want to be technical, I think niggardly is an actual term that had nothing to do with black people, but it got turned into.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's them coining it. That's them. What's the word? Yeah, fuck. I'm blanking right now. Reappropriated. They reappropriated it for them.
And by the way, how many minutes in are we now?
57.
We're 57 minutes in. If you made it all this way in the video, thank you. We appreciate it. But if I see any comments about I can't believe them white boys saying N-word again just so freely, I mean, go fuck yourself and your mother and your fucking entire family, because you're a fucking idiot. You're not listening to any of the conversation whatsoever. You're just so hopped up and ready to get pissed off about shit behind your fucking YouTube icon. You're full of shit.
I mean, it's kind of true, because I mean, we're not advocating for anything. We're just talking about context. Does context matter? Because I can show you an example in which context doesn't matter. Case in point, Jay-Z.
Yeah.
You don't hear black people up in arms about any artist that drops the N-bomb. Okay? Whether it's Kendrick, whoever you can name, even if it's Eminem, people don't fucking say. I don't know if Eminem says it, but if he did, I don't know if
he doesn't anymore. He might have
but it wouldn't blow up. It wouldn't really. It might start some like, okay, well, he's white, you should calm down, know your role. But he might be able to get away with it a few times, right? Because of his culture and everything.
Well, it's weird when it comes to hip hop, of the people who use it and who get away with it. Like all the Puerto Rican rappers in New York, you listen to they're all dropping it left and right, and nobody brings it up.
See,
but as a Puerto Rican on the West Coast, if I say it, ooh.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Context matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why I'm asking: does the context matter in this situation, or because it's online gaming, it's irrelevant? I
feel like I said,
if PewDiePie were black and he dropped that, would it matter?
No, I don't think so. I mean that's one of those gray areas now that we're reaching. Well,
because how many funny Call of Duty videos have I shown you where like there's a black guy clowning and trolling on some white kids,
right? And
he's dropping N-bombs left and right.
I want to stop you right here because you're sounding like Kevin a little bit. I want to put that out there. Like these These are the same arguments that Kevin.
These aren't arguments,
Well,
though.
they're not,
They're
but-
case studies.
Well-
I acknowledge that they're all case
Okay,
studies.
but it's just starting to get into that territory where like we kind of deconstructed what Kevin was saying, and it's kind of getting to that point too. Like, I don't want to get into the justification.
I think he's wrong. I think not Kevin, but I think PewDiePie was wrong in this.
Right.
And he knew it the moment he said it
Yeah,
because he
absolutely.
apologized right
Absolutely.
after. So that's how you. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah.
But I'm just what I'm talking about is does context matter for things? And I think it does. But I think to a certain extent, the argument becomes irrelevant because you're like you just said. Then it becomes a Kevin argument where it's like,
right.
yeah, you're just finding the ones that make sense for you.
Yeah.
And at the end, I mean, there is a true sense of like someone can get away with something, but someone can't. But that's all across the board.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what race you are. You might not have access to the same ones.
Absolutely.
You know? Black people can use the N-word. White people can't. But white people can like steal your mortgage and shit and cause a financial crisis and no one will say shit. Right. I mean, it's the same thing. We were allowed to get away with certain things. And I
Yeah.
think that's just about being human. I think in this situation, though, PewDiePie was wrong. Do you think it's going to have an impact on people like us, though? Where YouTube's going to really come down harder?
You know what? There's definitely the opportunity for that exists. It definitely does. Because like you already said before, we talked about this earlier, and PewDiePie getting messed up the first time already caused a bunch of things to happen on YouTube when it comes
For
to
ads, revenue, and a bunch of other stuff. Because we were talking off air about the Wall Street Journal post, or what was it? What did I say? Wall Street Journal?
Yeah, you said Wall Street Journal.
Where they basically targeted PewDiePie because of those videos you mentioned earlier.
Right.
And they were going to companies like Coca-Cola and all these things and like, hey, do you guys realize that your advertising is on ISIS videos or it's on PewDiePie videos where you're having all this racial content on? Or you really want to be associated with that?
Right.
And these companies were just dropping left and right. They were just saying, no, we don't. And it makes sense from them because now they're under fire.
Yeah.
Whereas before they didn't give a shit. Who cares?
They wanted
They
to
were
make their
getting-
money. They don't care
Exactly.
where it's coming from.
But now that they put a spotlight on it, of course they're going to care.
And that, I feel like that's a good thing. However, the repercussions of that is
It screws people over that are not PewDiePie.
right. Well, not just that, but I mean, it's like it starts with just ISIS videos, and then it turns into anything that could be deemed even slightly offensive,
Like this video would
Like this-
probably be something
Right.
that would be targeted
or foul language.
because it becomes a matter of once you start letting humans regulate, it becomes I don't really like what you have to say, so you're wrong. I'm not gonna I don't really care. I'm gonna segue a little bit. So there was an interview with Charlie Rose and Steve Bannon on 60 Minutes. Apparently it was Steve Bannon's first interview ever. I did not know that. I didn't know he'd never had an interview before. And I'm gonna fucking say it right here and now. I listened to it, and I would say there was a good chunk of it where I'm like, this guy's fucking sane. Not insane, but I
like what
agree
he's saying
with
was making sense.
100%. He was a straight shooter. I'm not even gonna lie. 100%, no bullshit. Now there's certain things like immigration where I didn't agree with him on, but I'm like, if this is the guy that's been influencing Trump, again, first interview,
Hey, man.
don't know anything about him,
Alex Jones says a lot of shit that makes sense, and then all of a sudden he starts talking about intergalactic.
and that might be the case. But
Yeah.
at least for that interview with Charlie Rose, like he said something about when Trump didn't condemn the Nazis right away. How come you were the only person who supported him? That's what they basically asked him.
Right.
And he said, my job is to unequivocally support the President of the United States. That's what I was put here to do. And if that means spinning something or whatever, I mean, he's right. That's what the cabinet's supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to leak shit. You're not supposed to make the administration weaker. You're supposed to stand by your guy. And if you can't do that, you resign. You quit. Not leak shit and not make things weaker. And that, to me, I'm not saying he's right, but it's a mentality thing that people like Steve Bannon have and PewDiePie have, where they kind of feel like they're outside of the world. I feel like, and then it's little things like this that triggers them to realize, oh wait, we actually run the shit.
Right.
I don't really know what my point was.
I don't either.
I
don't
lost
know. I don't see
it.
the connection.
I
But
lost it, and then I try to get it back, and I couldn't. And now I'm just owning up to it. Like I brought Steve Bannon up for a reason, and it's just gone. I don't remember.
well, since you're talking about Steve Bannon, let's segue into the DACA thing.
I'm sure it'll come up at some point.
So
That's where I disagree with him, though. Steve Bannon on his thing, because he said Trump should have just removed it entirely. Like, he shouldn't have waited this whole 6 months thing. What he should have done is, people who are here now, they can work until their visas are expired, their work visas, and then they have to self-deport.
Right.
And that's it.
So for those of you who live outside the country and don't realize how the things that are going on here, there was Obama passed this thing before he left for, I don't know what the DACA, look at what DACA stands for, but it's called DACA. And it was basically for the children of illegal immigrants who were brought here at a young age and basically lived here their whole life, but they're technically illegal immigrants themselves. They were granted kind of an immunity. You know, they were allowed to go to college. They were given social security numbers. They were allowed to work, you know. It was like a protection, basically. Like, you're 2 years old, your parents come from Mexico. You never go back to Mexico. You have no idea until later on. Like, you graduate high school and you try to apply to college, and you can't because you don't have a social security number that you had no idea didn't
Deferred
exist.
action for childhood arrivals.
Yeah, there you go. So DACA was basically protecting these kids who basically who
800,000.
who showed up in the country, had no idea. They were too little to realize that they even immigrated to the U.S. from another country, and are, you know, essentially American, other than legally speaking they aren't, because they weren't born here. So I mean, there's cases out there where people had no idea they were illegal. Or
I mean, if your parents don't tell you, how the fuck are you supposed to know?
Until they were like graduated high school, until they're 18 years old and they're like trying to take the next step, and had no clue that they were undocumented.
And that was one of the big things about Milo when he was going around doing his touring before he kind of burned himself out with his comments.
Right.
He was singling people out because I guess somehow he knew that, like, you know, Hector Rodriguez, he's not illegal, he's whatever, and he would have all this information and call people out. I mean, that's pretty scary, to be honest with you. I mean, on one hand, you got to listen to like people like Steve Bannon and actually listen to what they're saying, because at the end of the day, it's true. They are not legal citizens, and as a result, they should not be entitled to the things that citizens are. However, they're looking at things as black and white. They're not looking at the reality of the situation and how it actually could affect us. Because it's true. It's just like Syrian refugees or whatever you want to do. Like, there's 100% arguments on both sides. But I feel like the people on the right, or at least the Trump administration, because I feel like people on the right actually disagree with this too. I feel like yeah. Well, at least I've on my Facebook, I've seen actually people who are on the right actually say this is a foolish move. But anyway, at the same time, though, you're not living these lives. That's 800,000 people as of 2017 that are being affected by this.
I mean,
and they're Americans.
So I forget.
For all intents and purposes, they are Americans. They were born here. They don't know anything else.
There was a class I took in college, and one of the things they talked about was the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law.
Yeah, that's good. I can deal with that.
So, you know, when you say the letter of the law, you're saying like you go everything how exactly
by the book,
how it says it by the book. But sometimes you hit a gray area with those things. So you have to think, is it better for me to go with the spirit of the law? And I think this is one of those things
100%
where you think about the spirit of the law and like what these people, basically children or young adults now, are going through, what they went through. And, you know, you can't, there's so many,
you can't blanket them
I mean,
all.
this whole country's a gray area. It's always been that way. And that's why people like it here more than they like it in other countries, because you can get away with things that aren't legal and not worry about getting like the book thrown at you. I mean, a perfect example is drunk driving, you know, which is terrible. You should never drunk drive. It's like probably one of the worst things you can do. And I mean, I don't know about Daniel, but I've definitely done it. You know, I know everyone's done it.
I'll stay the night, or I'll stay the night. It was one of the things when I was like getting older, I was like 13, 14. My dad was like, oh, see, I don't know. I guess he thought Daniel's going to be partying now, because he probably wasn't.
Well, you weren't a drinker either.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
But he always told me, if you're ever in a situation where you're drunk, you can't drive, whatever, and you can't stay the night or something, just call me and I'll pick you up.
Right.
I don't care.
Hey, my dad gave me that same conversation all the time, and I still.
Well, see, but to me, it had an effect.
Right.
Because I was never afraid of, like, being uncool or something. But I would just spend the
It
spend
has
the night.
nothing to do with being uncool. I mean, I haven't done it in a long time.
You were
but
just too drunk
when
to
people
remember.
do it, it happens. Like, you just don't, I feel like, and this might be wrong, but when people are drunk driving, your friends, they have, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like your friends need to prevent you from drunk.
They're the ones who are responsible in the situation.
And if something happens, they should be just as responsible as you are for not preventing it from happening.
And I do that. I'm not saying Zach's an alcoholic, but Zach's come over to my house a few times and had a few drinks, and he'll just crash on the couch or something. Like,
I mean, just think about it. How bad would you feel if you let your friend leave the house and something happened to him?
well, see, the difference is if you know they're drunk, that's the key in it. If they had 1 beer, 2 beers, and they drove home, I wouldn't consider that something like, give me your keys.
Right.
But I mean, if you're a guy,
Yeah.
if you're a girl, you had 2 beers, I might think, because it's just different. That's not sexist. It's just the way.
Such a cis male.
But it's true. When females' bodies just process, especially skinny ones, smaller ones. The smaller you are, the less alcohol you need to get drunk. That's all I'm trying to say. But if it was like 1 or 2 beers and then something happened, you obviously you'd feel bad. But if they were fucking shit faced and then you were like, they're okay, then that's even worse. Because that's your fault. You could have done something.
Right.
Which is, for me, that's what I always like. Yeah, it's not even worth it. I'm not gonna fight you over it. Like, I'm not gonna be like, hide your keys, like, find them.
Well, I mean, sometimes you have to.
I wouldn't do that.
I have a friend who's been on the podcast who you have to fight with him to get him to stop.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
He is. But
because at a certain point, it becomes like, for what you say about feeling bad.
If
like,
you fight long enough, eventually they're going to sober up enough. You know what I mean? Or they're going to pass out.
Sure, I guess. But if things get physical,
I mean, you're going to lose every time because you're a pussy.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
No.
Then at that point, it's like, all right, well.
I lost my train of thought about this, like, the connection I'm making.
I don't remember what we were talking about. It had to do
with DACA, and then it.
Oh. Yeah, I looked it up. Deferred and gray areas.
Oh, the gray areas. And what I'm saying is, when it comes to drunk driving, if you get a lawyer, you can get your drunk driving knocked down to a wet and reckless. That doesn't go on your record as a DUI. It comes off in 3 years. It's a misdemeanor. If you have just a simple lawyer going to your DUI thing with your.
That costs like what, 10 grand?
No, 2 or 3 grand.
That's a lot of money for some people.
It is a lot of money. And
shouldn't drink and drive.
But what I'm saying is, that's the gray areas in this country where,
you're clearly guilty of something, but if you come up with a lawyer,
get off if you have enough money for it. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is the same thing we're doing here. Like, it's illegal, and it's bullshit. You do things every day. You fucking write things off in your taxes that you shouldn't write off.
I make illegal U-turns all the time.
Exactly. Stuff like that.
I make left turns all the time.
You make illegal left turns. That's illegal too. You're not turning yourself in. But when it comes to immigration and actual human beings, you have like a moral high ground about it. Especially when you know the situation of these kids. I understand their life is rough, but it's still legal. Like,
yeah. No, I know.
And people, when you say shit like that, like, it just makes me not take you serious at all. I just feel like
because you're not taking anyone into consideration.
No, I mean, you're kind of a racist.
I don't think it has to do with race.
It's underlying racism.
I think that is a factor. I don't think you can attribute that factor to everything, but I think it has to do with out of sight, out of mind. Like when I said earlier about New York.
Yeah.
I don't care about 9/11, quote unquote, for those who are just listening, because I don't live there. I care as an American. I care as a human being. I care as all this, but it didn't affect me the way it would if it would have happened in LA or in Long Beach or whatever, somewhere close to home.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing. The dreamers, they live in LA. There's a lot of sanctuary cities all across the country. They're not just LA, but LA has a huge population of these illegal immigrants who are, because I know some of them who are in college right now because of it. I guess
the preferred term is
undocumented, whatever the fuck, not legal. Point is, when we see that, we're like, hey, these are our like brothers. They're the ones who are selling us tacos. They're the ones going to school with us, whatever. Like, they're going to be the future. They need to stay here. But if you're out in Timbuktu, nowhere in the middle of fucking nowhere, and you're like, oh, these fucking illegals are taking my shit, there's some racial stuff there underlying, but it's also out of sight, out of mind, because you put those people in LA, they're not going to last very long.
Right.
They're going to have to adapt. They're going to have to realize, oh wait, we need Mexicans to like do all this other fucking labor
Right.
that we're never going to do. But I think it's like what you said. It's just like people who want not everyone on the right, but there's a lot of people who want less government regulation, whether it's guns, whatever, all this shit, right? Smaller government. But yet when Hurricane Harvey comes, Irma comes, we need to have all the aid from the government.
Right.
When Social Security comes, when I retire, where the fuck's my money?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of, and it's just this weird thing where it's like you said, what did you say? The law, how did your teacher say it?
Spirit of the law.
Spirit of the
versus
law.
the letter of the law.
The letter of the law, exactly. Well, the letter of the law is you're either going to have a big enough government to support you during disasters, or you're not. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
You know? But it's just this weird thing where people aren't looking at it from both sides, which is why I brought up the Steve Bannon thing. I absolutely believe that you need to listen to people on the right. Now, do you have to say that they're right, or that you need to take it? No, but you need to at least hear what they're saying. Because some of the things from a business stand, and I think this is where it gets screwed over.
Gotta know your enemy.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I also feel like the businessmen, from a pure business level, the best businessmen are Republicans. Now, how does that affect normal people like you and me? That's where it gets into a debate, because they're not taking us into consideration when
the interesting thing about the businessmen is many of the businessmen didn't start off as Republicans, and once they gained their fortune, they became Republicans
because they wanted to keep their money.
And
that's why.
Exactly, and you could trace that back. So, like, the way you phrased that made it seem like you only know business if you're a Republican.
No, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
I meant the Republican Party benefits the business class.
Yeah, absolutely.
The most. That's what I meant. That's all I meant. And so when they're talking about business stuff, you should probably listen to them and at least hear what they're saying, but then also be there to interject and add in, like, don't forget about the human aspect.
Yeah.
Which is what the left is doing too much now, in my opinion. But like that's what makes our country great, because there is that, but you can't just dismiss them.
No.
Because undocumented workers is a problem, but that can be resolved through making the process to become an American citizen easier.
Right.
Or just making all of these 800,000 legal right now. Boom.
Granting amnesty to the people in the
100%
program.
done.
Yeah.
From this point on, if you come in that way, you're not going to be. We're going to send you back. If that's what
Right.
they want to do, I'm not going to be opposed to that. But from people who are already here, who have already established their lives, whatever, to just fuck them like that, that's not cool.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that, like, it comes down to you preventing them entering in the first place. I don't know. I mean, when it comes to kids, I feel like it doesn't matter where they come from.
It's not their fault.
No, it's not their fault. When someone doesn't have a control of their situation, you know, that's when you need to start thinking about.
Is the shit from Cuba still a thing? Where if you leave Cuba and you come to the country, you're a citizen?
You can leave just about any country, and as long as you say that you fear for your life, like some sort of political thing, a political asylum, you can get granted like automatic citizenship here, or just something.
See, there's
weird.
another fucking thing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I
and
mean,
you've talked about that more than anything, that's a right-leaning thing, the Cuba thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because most of the Cubans in Florida are right-wing.
The first generation of Cuban immigrants got more money from the U.S. government than any immigrant group ever. Like money, like they got houses and they got money to start businesses, like big money too. Not, I think they got, like, my numbers, don't quote my numbers, but if I'm not mistaken, it was like between 50 and 75 grand in the late 1950s.
That's setting up for life.
You know, if we do inflation, that's it's
few
in the
100,000.
Yeah.
Easy.
So, you know, which is, I mean, that's for another day. You know, any Cubans out there that want to come on and talk, I'd love to have this discussion with you. Because I'm sure there's third generation Cubans that had no idea that's how it went down.
Well, I met a girl on a set last week, like 2 months ago, and I didn't even know she was Cuban. I thought she was white, 100%.
Well, I just found out that one girl, Bella Thorne, is Cuban.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was so Cuban, really?
Yeah, she's Cuban.
Interesting. When did you find that out?
Maria was watching the Chelsea Handler show.
And she was on the show?
She was on the show, and then she talked about how she got bullied as a kid because she couldn't speak English.
She doesn't even look Cuban.
Well, Comes down
It's
to
funny because this girl looks, the Bella, she looks just like the girl that I didn't know that was Cuban, 100%. Same like complexion, and actually the other girl that I met had a lighter hair color. Point is though, she was talking about that what you just said. Well, when my family came from Cuba, they gave us money, and kind of looked at the world differently since then because life's been a little easy for us.
Yeah.
That's literally what she said.
So she's aware.
She's aware, 100%, 100%. And the problem is she feels like she has to hide her Cubanness though. That's what she was saying. When she's not like.
I feel like on the West Coast you don't have to as much because.
Well, no, she's talking about in Florida over there. Because she's one of those Cubans.
Oh yeah, no, there's a divide between them as well. Like for the longest time, the Cuban people,
she was like, I don't understand.
The Cuban people in Miami
why are you getting mad if I live in a nice house?
We're mostly Republican, and then like the later generations have started.
She's Republican.
Leaning.
She said she said she was Republican.
The other generations that have come are like definitely left leaning, more liberal than the first. Basically, it's the first wave. The first wave that came when Castro first, which was in the 1950s. That first wave of Cubans they're usually white. You'll talk to some of them and they'll say that they're from Spain. That their family lived in Cuba, but they're
because they were the businessmen of Cuba.
Yeah,
they had to get protected,
and that's a part of the reason why they got shipped over. And then the second wave of Cubans were they're like the people that work for them, their servants, and or people that the manager.
They literally had to escape.
Yeah, the manager of their company came over, and then the third wave, which is like
Scarface.
That's the Scarface wave. Yeah, exactly.
The banana boat wave.
Right.
But it's just an interesting thing. The point is though, American okay, let me take a step back. All I want to say is, and I'm gonna stop talking about this, but I'm gonna end it with this. When I was watching Steve Bannon talk, I actually had to take a step back and take a breath and realize this is a real human being. He's talking about the world right now, not just like, oh, I'm just some random CNN correspondent and you got me and I have some opinions or something, like, yeah, you might like certain pundits that come on Bill Maher or whatever show, but at the end of the day, people like Sam Harris, they're not affecting the world.
No.
They have good insights, they have good opinions, you might respect them, et cetera, but they're not changing shit, okay?
Right.
Steve Bannon was influencing, and he even says, even though I'm not in the office, I'm still on constant communication with Trump right now. Because it's about changing the shape of the world. And I was just like, fuck, man. This is like watching a fucking superhero movie. This is the villain on TV talking, but it's not a villain. It's this is life.
He's Lex Luthor trying to save Earth from Superman.
Exactly. Even though it doesn't exactly. Perfect. That was a perfect summation. And it just made me think, holy shit, like, there's certain things in life that are just really weird, but they exist. It's just like there's certain things that you would think that we're not talking about, like would just go on, like the whole immigration thing. It should be black and white, but the black and white should be more defined. Yeah. It shouldn't be like, well, it should just, okay, if you're already here and you came under these circumstances, then you're okay. Just like the Cuban thing. Either that or you remove it. It's just like, I don't know. There's a lot of intricate pieces. Yeah. And there's no real right answer.
I got a really quick solution that someone that's professional at this should fix, but the solution should be any companies found hiring undocumented immigrants get the shit fined out of them.
I'm with that.
Because they don't, and that's the reason why if you don't have jobs,
I'm with that.
No one's going to come here.
It would never happen.
They would never. Of course not.
Because everyone fucking hires illegals.
Because it's non-union companies, mostly Republican, love hiring themselves some undocumented immigrants so they can pay them minimum wage, sometimes less if they can get away with it underneath the table.
And even companies like Sony, even though they're not American-based, they just get around it. We're not going to hire slaves. We'll just hire interns and not pay you.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it's the same fucking thing.
That's a completely... I mean, we can go down the...
No. Yeah. But I'm just saying, though, like, even if they're not illegal, they're still going to get their free labor. Right. They're still going to get it somehow. Yeah. I agree with that, though. Yeah. So, I 100% agree with that.
But anyways, let's wrap this up. We want to do a little segment. Let's do our little entertainment segment. I know you had some topics. I want to bring up one that actually happened.
Bring it up first, and I'll bring up these
happened about a month ago. Well, how do you feel about the Joker biopic or the Joker,
Scorsese?
The Scorsese version of the Joker before it was the Joker?
I'm gonna give two opinions. My honest opinion is anything with Scorsese, I'm on board with. Like, that's my first reaction. That's what I'm going to stick with. But if I had to give like a real statement on it, I would say the DC universe is so fucked up right now that until I see a trailer, until I actually see something, I don't really give a shit.
Okay.
Because it's all speculation.
I personally think it's a terrible idea. One of the most like intriguing things about the Joker.
Oh, you're talking about the idea or the fact that the team was there?
The idea of it and the team talking about it. Like,
Well, those are two different things to me. But go ahead.
So I think one, the Joker character itself, we don't know his origin. We've never known his origin. We don't need to see his origin because that's one of the most intriguing things about the character is that we know nothing about him other than what he's doing in the present. And I think that's kind of what the character stands for, is this nihilist guy that just does things for the now.
Right.
You know, doesn't care about any repercussions. You know, the only thing he wants to see is the world burn. You know, he's an anarchist to the fullest. And I think you kind of
The Dark Knight did that well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was his introduction was the fucking Joker card in Batman Begins.
Exactly.
And you knew right away that was it. And
right.
And you just show him robbing banks. I'm 100% on board with that. If that was your original question,
and then
go ahead,
other issue is, from what I read, not going to be part of continuity.
That's why I said what I said, because at the end of the day, until I see a trailer, it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
Because I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their goal is. I don't know if they want to just make these side stories.
It's just absolutely no point to it. Unless are we talking, even I was going to say Rogue One, but Rogue One is part of the overall story.
And if anyone argues that Rogue One is not Star Wars 3.5, episode 3.5, they're crazy.
I would say 2.5 because it happens before. No,
3.5.
Right. You're right.
After
3.5.
Revenge of the Sith, but before. Because it is. It's 100% connected. Anyone who says it's not is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that you end the movie that way.
But I was going to say the Rogue Squadron or whatever,
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like
though.
One of those side movies that doesn't really advance.
But even then,
like
Marvel does that with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
But they have a bigger picture. They're going to connect it.
Now
they didn't announce that. They never announced and said, "Okay, we're making these movies. They're not going to have anything to do with."
Sure, 100%, 100%.
DC's announcing. They're saying the Batman movie, the Batfleck movie.
They still don't know.
But now it's on. Is it part of continuity? Is it not part of continuity? It's a fucking mess, is what I've heard.
That's why I'm saying I don't care until I see something like actual solid. Okay. Now, in terms of the actual story idea, you hit all my points except for one, and this is a big thing. I don't want to watch a Joker movie directed by Todd Phillips. If you put Scorsese behind a Joker origin movie, and it does show his origin, but it's a Scorsese film, I don't give a fuck. I'm there day one because it's Scorsese,
right?
And he's gonna do something completely different, 100%, where his take is gonna be so original potentially that it might just surprise everybody, right? But Todd Phillips, the director of fucking Hangover, he's gonna do a Joker movie? I don't see it, man.
No, I don't want to see Todd Phillips directing anything other than comedies.
I mean, he did the Gun Runners movie with Jonah Hill,
which was a comedy.
And I was like, all right, I was fine, but
did he direct The Big Short? He might have directed.
No, he didn't direct The Big Short.
No.
No.
I felt like he was in Adam McKay.
Yeah, but he's an example of a comedic director.
Wait a second, did Adam McKay direct Old School? I get Todd Phillips.
He might have directed Old School, but he definitely directed Will Ferrell movies.
Yeah. I get those guys mixed up a lot.
What's the movie called? The race car movie? Anchorman? Not Anchorman. Shit.
Oh, Bobby Talladega Nights.
I think he directed Anchorman too.
Okay.
I'm waiting for this call to end so I can answer it.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't want to see Todd Phillips directing a Joker movie.
I'm with you on that. Okay, what else you got?
So, recently, Colin Trevorrow, the director of Star Wars 9, he got fired. Fired behind the scenes, but they said they let go. They mutually parted ways.
Right.
And before I read you the quote, what do you feel about that?
I have no idea who this guy is. What movies did he direct?
He directed
what's his name?
Colin Trevorrow. He directed the last Jurassic Park movie.
Okay, so you know how I feel.
Right. Spielberg personally handpicked him for that movie because he did a movie called
he's from the Bay.
Frick, what is that called? He did a movie. It was with the Duplass brother. My God.
Oh,
Safety Not Guaranteed. That was the movie.
I definitely did.
He did that movie, and then because of that movie, he was able to have Spielberg personally select him for Jurassic World.
This is where I start. I start like supporting the feminist movement in film, where you have women who've been grinding for years, and then you hand the fucking keys of the kingdom to some dude who hasn't done shit. I see that kind of with this guy.
Jurassic World.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg handed him the keys to the kingdom after he did a fucking indie movie.
He did Safety Not Guaranteed. Well, okay, let me explain to you the story about why he got that movie. I might have explained it to you before, but for those who don't know, so Safety Not Guaranteed is a movie based on a newspaper article. And the newspaper article advertised that this guy invented a time machine. He can go back into time with it, right?
Okay.
And I forget the plot of the movie 100%. I'm not even gonna lie, but it was about this fucking newspaper article. And at the very end of the movie, they develop and they make the time machine. Okay. Now, at the stakes that led you to that point, it didn't matter if it was a real machine or not, because it was what got him to that point that actually matters, right?
Yeah.
Now, when Spielberg was watching the movie, he said it was kind of not lackluster, but it was it was a better than average indie movie. But then the ending happened, the end is they're all sitting on this boat, okay? And do you think the movie's just going to end because they set it up that way?
Right.
But then they fucking vanish. It works. They go back. Like, you don't know what happens to them, but they disappear.
Okay.
On the rip, and then the movie ends.
I mean, your explanation is not hitting me in the feels whatsoever.
I understand, but
like, look, before
you're not Steven Spielberg, though.
I'm not.
Spielberg, no. Regardless if you like his work or not, Spielberg is a god of filmmaking right now. 100%. He's one of the greatest filmmakers alive.
He's on the Mount Rushmore.
100%. So, but when he saw that
doesn't
moment,
mean LeBron James ain't better than Michael Jordan.
Hold on, I'm not saying that. But when he saw that, his impression was this guy understands that connective tissue from a human being to another human being with the filmmaking process. So he was the one who personally, because he felt like, just like Shia LaBeouf, because Spielberg's had his experiments where he feels like he can get people, train them, and they're going to adjust, right? He's going to be able to make them into basically more Spielbergs, right? And that's what he was trying to do with Jurassic World. He felt like he had a connection there, that if he put his creative touches on it, he'd be able to grow into somebody, right? Now, you didn't care for Jurassic World. I liked it. It was better than Jurassic World 3 or the Jurassic Park 3 or whatever. But now, this came out, though. This was a Vulture article. Someone familiar with the production of both The Book of Henry, which is the movie he did after Jurassic World, which is 22% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm just going to read real quick. And now Vulture has spoken with someone familiar with the production of both Book of Henry and Jurassic World, and their source provides some insight about why Colin Trevorrow left Star Wars. During the making of Jurassic World, he focused a great deal of his creative energies on asserting his opinion, the executive explains. But because he had been personally hired by Spielberg, no one could say, "You're fired." Once that film went through the roof and he chose to do Henry, Trevorrow was unbearable. He had an egotistical point of view, and he was always asserting that.
He got too big for his britches.
Exactly. Now, this is the final quote. It says, there is one gatekeeper when it comes to Star Wars, and it's Kathleen Kennedy.
And she wasn't playing that shit.
Says a veteran movie producer who has worked with the studio chief. If you rub Kathleen Kennedy the wrong way, in any way, you're out. You're done. A lot of these young new directors want to come in and say, I want to do this, I want to do that. A lot of these guys, Lord and Miller, Colin Trevorrow, got very rich very fast and believed a lot of their own hype. And they don't want to play by the rules. They want to do shit differently. And Kathleen Kennedy isn't going to fuck around with that. Now, that's why I believe he got fired. Because at the end of the day, if this Book of Henry, I don't even know what the fuck it is, if it was also a smash success, you're going to have to...
Well, he's punching his own ticket.
You're going to have to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to let you get away with it.
Well, like I said, man, I'm gonna finish the Spielberg point, but I feel like this is maybe just a bit of hubris on Spielberg's part. I mean, if we want to do sports references, it's like every major coach, not all of them has a good tree. I can't even think of people who came from Spielberg. I mean, I guess J.J. Abrams, is that considered a Spielberg guy? But who else? Name all the other people that Spielberg selected to be his director. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you're good at picking other people to do the same thing for you. And I think when you get handed huge franchises like this, it's for a reason. It's the reason why Ava DuVernay didn't direct Black Panther, but the USC guy did.
I hear you.
What's that guy's name?
Who?
The USC guy.
Ryan Coogler?
Ryan Coogler, because the studio can not manipulate you, but the studio thinks that you're going to be able to do what they want you to do, and you're not going to invoke yourself too much into it, because as far as I'm concerned, these Star Wars movies are already mapped out. We know where they're going. They're going a certain direction. You can't change that direction. You can try to put your own little spin on it a little bit, but it's still going to be...
They're set in stone.
Yeah, they're set in stone. Like the argument you and I had about Wonder Woman, where I said, this is Zack Snyder's universe. There's things that they're going to be Zack Snyderish no matter who's directing the movie. And I think you saw that with the action sequences and the VFX. I don't want to go back into it.
I'm not going to say anything.
I see you getting that.
No. I was just looking up
I'm still waiting for my public apology, by the way.
I'm just looking at the his proteges, Spielberg. So according to this article, the three most successful are Chris Columbus, Robert Zemeckis, and Frank Marshall.
I mean, does Robert Zemeckis really count as one of his proteges? Robert Zemeckis is an old dude, and he was at USC in the 70s. I
think it depends on how you look at it.
Right.
Because if you I think that an argument could be made that without Spielberg they wouldn't have Back to the Future. That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Oh, no, definitely. I think him adding his name to adding in that regards, it's kind of like when Tarantino tries to get these like shitty films from,
and he puts his name on it.
Yeah, to get him to screen.
That's
them,
what I'm saying. So
and I love Robert Zemeckis. I'm not talking shit about Zemeckis at all. I'm just talking about age-wise. They're pretty much the same generation.
Sure.
I'm talking about now, like young filmmakers.
And he's had failures. Shia LaBeouf is one of them, because Shia LaBeouf is that kid who doesn't give a shit about his elders, about falling in line. And you can make an argument that his career suffered as a result of that.
Right.
I can make an argument that his career has gotten more artistic as he's gotten older and less commercial. Now, whether or not you want to say that's bad or not, that's just up to you.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is Lincoln. I don't know what other movies he's done.
Who, Shia?
No, Steven Spielberg.
That you liked?
No, I'm saying like Spielberg just hasn't been directing movies, and the last one he did was a fucking
he did the spy movie.
Piece.
He did the spy movie just recently.
Was that the Tinker one? I don't even.
No,
know.
He didn't do Tinker. He did.
The one with Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Okay.
The actor won an Academy Award for it.
I haven't watched it.
I know.
I'm not saying he's not. I love Steven Spielberg's movies.
Oh no, I understand what you're saying. Your
saying?
point is just because he picked you doesn't mean you're a god yourself.
Exactly.
I can understand that.
And
he didn't earn that yet.
No.
If he would have kept his mouth shut and directed, because that's what's fucked up about it. That's what's annoying about it. That's what I hate about this situation. And I think you're 100% agree with me as well. What did he do to earn Jurassic World? He impressed one guy.
Right.
Now, most people could probably do movies way better than he did for that one movie, but they're not going to get Spielberg's eye. They're not going to get his attention. So he didn't necessarily deserve it. But if you're in that opportunity and you make Jurassic World, now you might have not have liked it, but a lot of people did, and I'm not going to use the box office argument. Just a lot of people liked it. It wasn't that bad of a movie. It wasn't the best Jurassic Park movie, whatever you want to argue. That's 100% agree with that, but it wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. It kind of hit all the right things. You had Chris Pratt who blew up right at the right time. All these things, these factors. But if you're next...
It's on par with the Fast and the Furious movies.
No. I saw the last Fast and the Furious movie. That movie was terrible.
I'm going to say it's in the same ballpark. They're definitely playing the same
Just
sport.
like you were wrong about my Batman cat t-shirt, you're wrong about this one.
Oh, you had two people sitting
I had like 3 or
cat.
4 at least. Okay.
Your Batcat t-shirt sucked. I don't care what anybody says.
Whatever. Point is... If he would have minded his P's and Q's with Star Wars, and kind of maybe he knew when to throw in his interjections, that, I really blah 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 whatever.
Well, he could be, obviously the trajectory is a little different, but he could be Joss Whedon. He could be another J.J. Abrams.
He could have been. He's done now.
He's done. No,
it's fucked
he's
now.
Probably not. He's not gonna get. He's gonna be doing indie movies again.
He's screwed.
And fucking drinking himself to death.
Ryan Johnson or J.J. Abrams are the rumored directors to replace him. And I haven't seen The Last Jedi, but Ryan Johnson seems to be someone who knows how to play ball,
right?
But also interject himself into it.
Well, if we want to get too super political about this, it's still like white males directing these movies.
That's true.
Well,
who do you want? Who would you want to direct Star Wars?
You know what? If you want someone to fall in line with your vision, You get someone that's been grinding a long time and just waiting for their opportunity. You know, someone that like, because
So who
at this point,
you,
I feel like these movies can direct themselves because
who
they're the
would you-
exact same
Who would
fucking
you pick?
movies. I don't know. That's what I'm telling you. You don't need a name for this movie. No one's gonna go see Star Wars because Colin Trevorrow was directing it. No one's gonna go see The Last Jedi because Ryan Johnson's directing it. People are gonna see it because it has Star Wars on the fucking name. You could put anybody on there. You could pick some fucking asshole off the street, throw him behind the director chair, and then say, "Hey, we need you to do this. This is what we want." Boom, leave him alone, and it's gonna smash box office records.
Well, I think I don't necessarily agree with that because I think that's what they were gonna do with the 21 Jump Street people. I think that's what they were trying to do with Colin. I think they felt like because we're giving him such an opportunity that they're just gonna fall in line. And I think that they just like the article said, they got too ahead of themselves.
Well, the guy's 40 years old too. It's not a young guy. You know what I mean? But he also, if you look at his, I have no idea what this guy's story is, so I couldn't tell you anything about him. You know what I mean? It just sounds kind of like a fluke. I feel like the
But
guy's.
at the same time,
I have to watch his shit, but for all I know, this guy was a shitty director who directed one nice scene, and Spielberg fucking.
well, you have to direct a good movie to have that scene work. But I understand. But hold on, my question. Let me ask, and maybe we can end on this.
You preface the movie with, the movie was kind of underwhelming, but then that last scene.
Well, I personally didn't care for the movie.
Right.
But I understand I understand what Spielberg was saying. I didn't care for the movie, but I can totally understand what he was going for, what he saw in it. What is the likelihood, in your opinion, that these products were actually good? Whether Colin's idea might be great, or the Miller or whoever was doing the Han Solo movie actually probably had a good idea, etc. Go down the line. Ava DuVernay and someone wanted to direct Thor 2. Was it Ava? No, it was the person who did Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She wanted to do Thor 2, and they didn't want to go like Edgar Wright. What do you think the percentage, the likelihood is that they had a good idea, but it didn't fall into branding? So now, because it didn't fall into branding and a mass marketing, that there's all this controversy, and now they look bad. Where do you lie on the artistic integrity?
I think with the way the market is right now, the studios are playing it safe as fuck, because every time they let someone take a chance lately, it fucking flops. They let the sisters that used to be brothers.
Oh, the Wachowskis?
Yeah, the last 3 movies they've made have been complete fucking
I haven't
failures.
seen them, so I can't comment.
They've been failures.
Financially,
you can comment on them being failures. The people that have seen them hated them so much.
But I might like them, though.
You might like them.
Financially, though, I will not argue with you.
You like them.
Indisputable.
Yeah.
Financially, they've done shitty.
If I'm going to give you $300 million, I need a return on my fucking investment.
I understand that. 100%.
And lately, when they let people take chances, it hasn't been working out.
So then that's what I'm asking. So do you feel like maybe their ideas, because we don't know what their ideas were.
Their ideas could be great, but they might be too risky. And we're at that point with these movies because people are downloading, people are staying home and watching movies at home. People are just not interested in feature films anymore. They just want to watch TV because TV's gotten so much better. You can't take that risk anymore because we're talking $250 million sometimes on these budgets. $100 million budget is now not a big budget. That's a fucking medium-sized budget. That's where we're at.
I think it's going to change, though.
I mean,
I don't think it's going to change for huge properties like Star Wars specifically.
It's not going to be because of the studio. Let me tell you that much. It's going to be somebody is going to raise money independently.
It's the world market.
Yeah, someone is going to get fucking Mark Cuban to dump some money into your movie or something. I don't know. I'm just fucking spitballing here.
No, it's true.
But yeah.
Because let me put it this way, and this is going to be a segue to our next episode because I think we should end on this. You look at, because me and you just watched recently the Bahubali movie.
Right, first one, the beginning.
And that movie cost, do you know how much it cost to make?
I think somebody told us like $8 million or something like that.
It cost $30 million.
Okay, wow.
Okay, now, is the movie perfect? No. Does it hold up to like American standards, etc.?
Yeah.
No. But as a $30 million independent movie, it's pretty good in terms of what they were able to do. And that was a few years ago.
Absolutely.
I don't even know what it looks like now.
Right.
Okay. They, not Indians, but people like that on the outside of the worldwide, once places like China and they start churning out these big, because technology is going to make everything cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the thing about Bahubali is like, it's just, they were able to do a lot because it's just cheap.
Yeah.
Hollywood could only do Lord of the Rings in 2003. Only Hollywood could do that.
Right.
Now the Indian company that can raise 30 million, they can do it.
Yep.
Is it going to look the same? No, but it'll get there. And that's my point. So if Colin had a great idea and Kathleen said, "No, you need to fall in our line. We need to have Darth Vader in this one because we want it that way."
Yeah.
And maybe he didn't want it or whatever the fuck. Maybe he's a super fucking nerd. At one point in time, he's going to be able to branch off and do it. It might not be a Star Wars movie, but he might be able to use that idea because shit just gets cheaper and cheaper.
Right.
Because I think studios are playing it safe 100%, but that's going to backfire eventually. I mean, it did with the Westerns when they were just making Westerns and Westerns and Westerns. And what happened? You had a renaissance around the world that also influenced American cinema in the 70s.
Well, I hate to be a DC hater, but I think they're doing a good job of that right now. Not financially, but the films themselves. Eventually, people are going to stop showing up to those DC
Oh, you mean
films.
they're fucking themselves?
Yeah.
I 100% agree with
Yeah.
you. And that's my point.
Yeah.
You can only play it safe for so long before people start branching out and realize, "Oh wait, we don't need you. We can do this." Cuz it's just history repeating itself.
Yep.
That's all it is. And then eventually the studios will realize, "Oh wait, people actually like these kind of movies. Well, let's just do this."
Yep.
And we'll make it bigger and better. And then you have, because that's the comic book is the new Western. I don't know what comes up after the comic book, to be honest with you, because I feel like there's still a lot of time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of properties you can burn on the comic book world. But yeah, that's my final thoughts.
No, I'm with you on that. I completely agree. And that's going to do it for us today. You know the drill. This is the DNG Talk, Daniel and Gian Talk. YouTube, you're already watching us. If you're not, listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud. We're on Stitcher Radio. Make sure to give us a like, leave us some comments, let us know what you think, and we will see you next week. Actually, and be on the lookout for our Bahubali, the beginning review that will drop Wednesday. And we'll see you guys soon.